It was the night before Christmas. Well, Christmas Eve, I should say. And all I could think about was the very next day. My son, Michael, was in his room fast asleep. And here I was with this old chimney to sweep. I told Mary, my wife, that this fireplace was a waste. But good old Mary with her old-fashioned taste. I guess it did save on the heating bill, but here I was, hands and knees, cleaning, thrilled. Just thinking about her brought a smile to my face, yet knowing she wasn't here made my heart quite an empty place. She was due back tomorrow from her trip out of state, but to have her back on Christmas Day, couldn't wait. I stood up and walked down the hallway alone. All I could hear was Michael's music, a lullaby tone. I climbed into bed and turned off the TV, and knowing my wife would be returning tomorrow, sleep wasn't easy. Boom! A loud sound echoed in my room, and I sat up quick to see if it was danger that loomed. Nothing. Must have been a trick of the wind blowing in the night. I'd felt sort of silly that it gave me a fright. I closed my eyes and began to lay down. When I heard it again, it came with a pound. I jolted to my feet and began to think, what if it was Michael who'd gone to the sink? See, he had night terrors that were always such a bother, so he'd wake up and grab himself some water. A strange remedy for a semi-strange kid, but if water worked, fine. Nothing else did. Michael, I called out with a yell. But for some reason, I couldn't shake this strange cinnamon smell. Cinnamon, I thought to myself. So I stood up and grabbed my glasses from the shelf. I looked in the hall into the dark abyss, and I couldn't shake the strange feeling that something was amiss. I walked to my son's door and peeked my head in. Another dead end. He was in his bed when boom! I almost screamed to the top of my lungs, but I covered my mouth, so only the lullaby sung. I closed his door and continued through the dark. Something was wrong. I had to find my mark. I quickly began to clear all the rooms, still smelling that sweet cinnamon perfume. I checked the kitchen, the living room, the foyer, all static. It pained my heart when I thought of the attic. The attic, of course! My senses began aching, because I knew in the attic, my claustrophobia was waiting. Up the ladder I cautiously climbed, while the faint sound of sleigh bells merrily chimed. Sleigh bells! Was I losing my mind? As I drew closer, I was scared what I'd find. When all of a sudden something made sound of stomping and scraping, so turning around, I dashed down the ladder and fell to the floor. Had my imagination got the best of me? Had I closed all the doors? Locked all the windows, boarded the chimney? The chimney? Then all kinds of crazy thoughts crept in me. I stood up and brushed myself off and quickly ran down the hallway, keeping my steps soft. The smell grew closer as I shortened my pace. I saw a small figure near the old fireplace. A small little man, a head taller than Michael. It freaked me out, and my thoughts began to cycle. He had a red suit. I'm sure you can guess the rest. As he grabbed a brown bag and pulled out a small vest. Hey! I called to the little known man, but he paid me no attention and stuck to his plan. Soon anger began to overcome my fear, but before I could speak again, the man disappeared. Red, tiny sparkles remained where he stood, that fluttered to the ground. Oh, this wasn't good. As I walked to the spot where he used to be, a sound caught my attention from right behind me. I turned to the kitchen, and there the man was! Grabbing the cookies I'd left uneaten, my son had left for the claws. Oh, wait. From the pit of my soul, I wondered if this was the man from the North Pole. The man people mystified, for giving out gifts and flew over the sky with reindeers keeping him adrift. I had long since stopped believing in stories like these, but here he was, right in front of me, eating with ease. He looked different from the stories I knew, shorter and older and a bit out of skew. Santa? I called him my name, and the man stopped and turned with a short, chubby frame. His eyes looked jolly, but tired, and his clothes sort of tattered. The kid in me wanted to know what was the matter. He smiled faintly. Oh, he looked weak. But to my surprise, the man began to speak.
Listen, young man, you mustn't say a word. For one, your peers may find you absurd. It's important you don't tell Michael what you see, for this is the last Christmas that he'll believe in me. His mom, your wife, is stuck in a storm and will sleep at the airport to keep herself warm. She'll return in 2 days, I admit, not very swift. So, I cannot give Michael his true Christmas gift. He will stop believing, as they all soon will do. But me, I have the pleasure of meeting new children too. Today's age is different from the days of old, and there are too many children, if I may be so bold. I can no longer visit them all in a night. So a balance between those who believe and those who don't is what I feel is right. And to top it all off, something I have to do. I brought him a small vest and signed it from you.
Then the little man smiled, and with a wink of his eye vanished into red sparkles that quickly rushed by. And up the chimney he flew so true and fast, he gave me no time for question to ask. I heard him call and yell to his trusted chauffeurs, and in a flash, they were gone in a blur. And there I stood, feeling like childhood would begin again, as I took a deep breath and smelled the sweet smell of cinnamon. And there my story ends, though I would not feel right without saying, Merry Christmas to all, and to all a good night.